Hello, welcome dudes to Duty's Daggers. We have a topic today, and that topic is one of the best EDC knives ever created, and that is the Spyderco Native 5. I am going to convince you that this is an absolutely perfect EDC knife, and I absolutely love this knife. So I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why it's the best, one of the best. So let's get into it. First, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Look down there, make sure that you are, please. And my Instagram's duties_daggers if you would like to follow me over there as well. So I have 5 reasons why this is one of the best EDC knives ever made. So first, let's take a look at the construction, the measurements, all that stuff. This is the Salt version in LC200N blade steel. So this is a completely rust-proof knife, and this was the first Native 5 that I ever had. Got this one second. And this is what really made me realize how amazing the knife is. And I honestly didn't totally realize it until after I had owned it for a while, a couple months. And then I did a cut test video with it where I put it through its paces. That was the beginning of me understanding how amazing this is. So this other one here is in Maximet blade steel, which is kind of funny. I have the two ends of the spectrum. I have a super stainless one here, and then I have a super not stainless one here as well. This one is Maximet, so you can tell it's already gotten a little bit of a patina on the blade. It can rust easily. This one can't rust easily. Both FRN handles. This one does have an MXG deep carry pocket clip on it, which you can get if you want. This one has the stock clip on it. So, like I said, FRN handle skills, and usually I am not an FRN fan at all, but for some reason, whatever it is, maybe it's a different type of FRN, maybe it's this texturing, but I don't mind it on this knife at all. It is uber lightweight, and it just doesn't feel. I mean, obviously it feels cheaper than like aluminum or titanium, but it really doesn't feel that cheap. And the texturing here is really excellent. Not only do I love the way it looks, but the way that they did this is really smart. You can see there's all these little squares that are angling up this way on this half of the knife, and up on this half of the knife they're angling the opposite way. So you have traction both this way and this way, both sides. And this logo here is not just for looks, although it does look awesome. They got the spider right there. But it creates a flat spot for the clip to ride on. That's the exact point where the clip contacts the scale, meaning that when it's, when you're putting it in your pocket and your pocket seam is running under there, it's not getting torn up on this texture. And it's cool because the MXG clip actually also hits on that flat spot. They did it right. So that's why it's there. We have a four options for you to mount the clip: tip up or tip down, left or right. Obviously, I don't really need these other options, but it's cool and they don't bother me that they're there. So whatever. We got a lanyard hole. We got obviously they're backlock knives. We have a really nice choke up area with jimping on the inside. We got nice grippy jimping right up here on the spine. And we have a really excellent blade shape on this guy. This is, I mean, obviously, the blade's kind of the star of the show here, but it really is absolutely excellent. And we'll get into that more in a second here. We have a backspacer. It's not really a backspacer. It's just part of this show scale. So this is all solid backed. But you can get a little bit of flex here, squeezing the scales, but the weight is part of my argument as to why it's one of the best EDC knives. So let's get into it. So that was kind of the construction. Let's give measurements real fast and do just a couple size comparisons, and we'll get into my 5 points here. So the blade length is just under 3 inches. The actual cutting edge is around 2.5. The handle is just under 4 inches, and so we have a total length of just under 7. I love even measurements. I know it doesn't matter that much, but, you know, 3-inch blade, 4-inch handle, 7-inch knife. That's kind of cool, right? Blade stock thickness, let us check. 0.124. And behind the edge, we are looking at around 20 thousandths. Yep, around 20 thousandths. Fine, perfectly fine. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, well, no, we'll talk about that when we talk more about the blade shape. Let's go. Okay, so first, let's get into point number one. Point number one, why this is one of the best EDC knives ever. Size and carryability. Carryability. Is that a word? Carryability. I think it is. It makes sense, right? Carryability. The ease of carrying it. How easy it is to carry the knife in your pocket. The answer to that is extremely easy. The size, I think, is absolutely 100% perfect for an EDC knife. Now, what I mean when I say an EDC knife, I'm talking about a knife that you carry day to day. It's good at a large range of different types of cutting tasks. It's light, so it doesn't bother you. You can wear this. You can carry this knife in athletic shorts or work pants. Doesn't matter. It's light enough to wear with your basketball shorts. Size, you know, you don't want a big bulky knife weighing you down in your athletic shorts or whatever, you know, slacks maybe. But you also want a knife that's big enough to put in some work at the same time. And this knife is absolutely that. It's small enough to where it's not too big. It's big enough to where you can get a really nice full grip on this knife and really put some work in. You know, I carry this knife not only on the weekends, but I carry this at work. This is a work knife for me too, so it can really do everything. So the size and carryability is really, really perfect. Now it's basically a shrunken down Shaman. If we could get the Spyderco Shaman out here. Gosh, I'm embarrassed. I didn't clean the blade off. Oh well, it's tape goo. I'm not gonna get it off quickly. So you can see it's kind of a shrunken down Shaman. The handle's a little different, but it's very, very similar. And the Shaman is one of my favorite work knives ever. So that shrunken down, it would make sense that, you know, make it smaller, make it lighter, and it could be one of the best EDC knives ever. So next, the weight. We kind of talked about that a little bit already. This is an extremely lightweight knife. Carry this in your athletic shorts or your work jeans, work pants, doesn't matter. It is light enough. And that's really all there is to say about that. It's really light. It's not so light that it feels cheap either. It's kind of like balanced really well. And like I said, I usually don't like super lightweight knives with FRN, but I like this one for whatever reason. I just dig it. Next, number 3, blade shape. This has one of the best blade shapes ever. And it was something that I really realized during my cut test, because up until this knife, I kind of thought that a sheep's foot or Wharncliffe was my favorite knife and one of the best all-around blade shapes. But I was wrong, because this is actually one of the best blade shapes. With a Wharncliffe or sheep's foot, let me get one out to give an example here. Here's an extreme example, but this is a classic Wharncliffe blade shape. Now, this is great for utility cutting. It's great for slicing. But if you have something down on a flat surface that you're trying to cut, you're trying to kind of do a rolling chop into, like say you have, I don't know, some rubber tubing that you want to cut. What you want to be able to do is start with the tip. I'm going to turn this up. Pretend this is a flat surface. You want to start with your tip, and you kind of want to rock back, letting the belly rock back. You know, a lot of the edge is contacting the surface, and you're able to use almost this whole edge. With the Wharncliffe, you can't rock back because your knuckles are going to touch right about here. And you're really only ever using this much of your edge. That's doing all the work, just this much. So while it's great for doing something like this, if you're cutting like some rubber tubing, you hit the tip and you rock back, you're only using that much. So I know that's probably didn't explain it well enough. It really becomes apparent if you watch the cut test video I did on this knife. You can really see what I'm talking about. The tip digs in and then you rock back as you're pushing down, and it just cuts so well. Now, this also has a really, really low tip, so it's kind of the best of both worlds here. It's really good at utility cutting, it's great for slicing, which I'll get into in a second, and it's great for those kind of chopping motions that you want to do. You can rock back and get almost the full edge down in contact with the surface. Just to show you kind of how low the tip is, if we draw a line kind of centered on the handle, look how low the tip is. I know it's hard to center on the handle, it's not a rectangular or a circular thing, but just roughly, if you're kind of drawing a straight line from the handle, the tip is below that, which is really what you want. It's really just perfect. This is an absolutely perfect blade shape, and like I said, I really realized it during the cut test because I was cutting a bunch of different materials. I was doing slicing, utility cutting, chopping, everything, and I realized it was good at everything, which is really interesting, and that was what made me realize that Wharncliffes, while they do look badass, and they're really good at utility cutting and slicing, not the best for everything. This is the best for everything. And I don't know if it's kind of its own thing. I would call it a Spyderco leaf-shaped blade. I guess technically it's kind of a drop point, almost a spear point kind of. It's its own thing. And I love it really very, very much. I do a lot of utility cutting too, which is why I was a Wharncliffe sheepsfoot fan for so long, and it still am, obviously. So when I realized this could do that too, almost just as well, it was a real eye-opener. So, next, ergos. Ergos are just amazing. This has one of the most comfortable choke-up spots I've ever felt. The number one most comfortable choke-up spot is on the Shaman, hands down. And it makes sense that the shrunken down version would be just as good. No, it's not just as good because there's less real estate, less contouring on the handles, but it is very, very good. If you look at the size of this choke-up area, the choil, they're almost the same size. Even though this is a smaller knife, they're almost the same size. So they're not sacrificing the space that you have in here to choke up. They're still making it big enough for a wide variety of hand sizes, finger sizes, and it is roomy, baby. Really super roomy. You can choke back. I have never held a knife like this while cutting ever, but you can. I can still get a 4-finger grip back there. But, I mean, choked up, that's how you hold the knife, right here. Hammer grip with your thumb on the spine. Pinch grip. I like to wrap my middle finger right in the choil there, and the pinch grip. It gives you like just a really locked in sort of feeling. This is how I love to hold it. Gosh, it feels good. Ton of pressure down in the tip. Ton of control with this finger when you need to come around to turn, whatever you're doing. It just feels good, man. So good. Let's talk about the action real quick. I have one last point because we've only done 4 so far. But I want to talk about the action real quick. These are lockback knives. They're not going to be as fidgety as, a compression lock. Super easy one-handed use, pulling back the compression lock. Not as fidgety as a button lock. Not as fidgety even as a liner or a frame lock. But let me tell you something. These are fidgety in their own way. What I mean by that is the very satisfying click. I love that click sound, man. It feels so good. Just to feel that real solid. It's probably not coming through the microphone super well. but that nice click, you can feel it kind of vibrating back in here. It just feels so solid. And then closing, nice snap too. So nice. I love it. And you can do it one-handed. It takes maybe a little more practice, but all you do, push the back spring or back lock, let it fall down to this finger, then you reposition, snap it shut. And once you're used to it, it's really not much of an issue at all. Yeah, so I mean, you can thumb flick them. This one's a little tight still. I can still reverse flick it. It's a little tight, but they do break in really nicely. Since I've had this one longer, it's more broken in. You can see it just drops really easily. So they will break in. Now I want to get to the last point, and that is solid lockup. Most of my other Spydercos have the very slightest bit of blade play. If I really wrench back and forth, I have a little bit. Now I could get rid of that if I wanted it to not be quite as fall shut when I pull the compression lock in, but I like them to be like that. I like to pull this down, pull the compression lock, and have this just really nicely fall. So I'm okay with having a very slight bit of blade play. But let me tell you something, these have absolutely zero. Even wrenching on this thing, there is zero. So they may be kind of lightweight, which is a good thing, but sometimes lightweight things feel a little cheap. So they may be light, but they also have a very solid feeling at the same time, which is interesting. You know, I think it has to do with just the controlled kind of slow roll, the substantial click as you lock out, the real nice snap you get as it shuts, and just the fact that there's zero blade play in any direction. Like, just solid as hell. So that's it. Have I convinced you? Let's go over the points one more time. Size, carryability, perfect. Weight, super light. Carry it in whatever pants you want. Blade shape, one of the best blade shapes for general tasks ever. Ergos, fantastic. Lockup, solid as a rock. What else is there? What else could you even want? They come in a large variety of blade steels. And this isn't even to mention all the things that Spyderco, that makes Spyderco one of the best large production, or the best large production knife maker ever. That's not even including all of those things, but I'll mention them real quick. The huge variety of blade steels. The best heat treat you're going to get, period, in a large production knife. Customer service, fit and finish, fantastic. These don't have detents, but I've never had a detent from Spyderco that was bad, mushy, or too weak, or anything. You know when you get a Spyderco, it's going to have a good detent. You just know it. You know it's going to have the best heat treat possible. You know it's going to hold an edge like you expect it to. I mean, they're the best, man. You already know that. So it's not crazy that the best large production knife company in the world would make one of the best EDC knives ever made. Just makes sense. So there you go. Get yourself a Native 5. If you want stainless, go for the Salt series. They're actually making this Salt knife in MagnaCut now with a yellow handle, because MagnaCut has better edge retention than LC200N, and it's just as stainless, so it makes sense for them to do that. Or if you want something not stainless but better edge retention, Maximet. There's some Rex 45 ones I've seen. There's S30V ones. There's all kinds of them. Different colors. And let me tell you a secret. It's not a secret, but you might not know. There is a company making, I think, either aluminum or titanium scales for the Native 5. It's coming. I believe it is, is it AWT? I'm pretty sure it's AWT or OG Goat, one of those people. I can't link it, but, you know, keep your eye open. It's going to be coming, because right now there's not very many aftermarket scales for these, if any, but it's coming. They're coming. So if you don't, you know, if you love the knife, don't like the FRN, don't worry, there will be an option coming soon for that. So that's it. Please like the video before you leave. Let me know if I convinced you or not. Let me know if you agree with me or don't agree with me. Let me know in the comments. I love you. Adios.